In the heart of the English county of Surrey, nestled among towering ancient oaks and sprawling gardens bursting with blooms, stood Greystone Manor. The estate was an emblem of timeless elegance, its stone walls cloaked in ivy, its windows framed by delicate rose vines. A gentle breeze carried the scent of jasmine and lavender, mingling with the distant song of birds. The garden paths were meticulously kept, winding between flower beds awash in colors that shifted with the seasons, from the pastel pinks of spring to the fiery oranges and reds of autumn. Here lived the Ashford family, Lord Harold Ashford and his wife, Lady Violetta. Their presence was as refined as the manor itself, their lives seemingly woven into the very fabric of this serene landscape. Lord Harold was a man of respectable age, a true gentleman in the classical sense, reserved, measured in speech and action, always maintaining a calm dignity. His silver-streaked hair and thoughtful eyes gave him a distinguished air, but beneath that composed exterior lay a growing distance, a quiet detachment that settled between him and the woman he had loved for decades. Lady Violetta, approaching 40, was a woman of extraordinary beauty and grace. Her dark hair fell in gentle waves, framing a face that was both delicate and strong. Her eyes, a deep shade of chestnut, often seemed to carry a sadness that no one dared ask about. Despite her poise and sophistication, Violetta's soul flickered with a restlessness that the calm, orderly life of Greystone Manor could not soothe. Each morning she rose with the sun and moved through the gardens like a silent guardian. Her fingers brushed the petals of roses and lilies, tracing their delicate curves as if seeking solace in their fragile perfection. The garden was her refuge, a place where she could momentarily escape the growing emptiness inside. Evenings found her curled by the grand fireplace in the manor's library, a book resting in her lap, the flickering flames casting soft shadows on the walls. Yet the silence was often heavy, pressing upon her heart with a loneliness she tried to hide behind polite smiles during afternoon teas and social visits. Harold loved Violetta in his own quiet way, but the warmth that once sparked between them had slowly dimmed. His embraces, once full of tenderness, had become formal and distant. And though Violetta told herself everything was fine, she found her gaze wandering more frequently to the younger men who crossed the manor's grounds. A fleeting look here, a quiet curiosity there. One crisp morning, a new gardener arrived at Greystone. Thomas was unlike anyone Violetta had seen. His skin was sun-kissed, glowing warmly under the golden light, and he moved with a gentle grace, treating each flower as if it were a rare treasure. He wore a simple linen shirt, rolled up at the sleeves, and his eyes shone with a kindness that stirred something deep within her. Violetta descended to the garden, wrapped in a silk robe that fluttered softly in the breeze. Thomas looked up and, without breaking eye contact, said softly, "Your rose has bloomed especially beautifully today." She felt a blush rise to her cheeks. For the first time in many months, she smiled, genuine and shy. The next day, Thomas lingered longer than usual while trimming the hedge beneath her window. Violetta found herself drawn to the sound of his voice, the way he spoke to the plants, as if in a secret language only they understood. A week later, under the quiet canopy of the garden gazebo, their hands met and hesitated before intertwining. The rustling leaves whispered around them as they gave in to the hunger that had been growing quietly in their hearts. Their kisses were muffled by the gentle breeze, their breaths mingling with the scent of blooming jasmine. But such moments of stolen happiness were fragile. Thomas was dismissed for negligence of duties, an excuse that neither he nor Violetta could truly accept. Yet the void he had filled did not go unnoticed. Soon after, a new presence arrived, Alex, the young driver. His expressive brown eyes were full of quiet attentiveness. Each morning he stepped out of the car to open the door for Violetta, a small courtesy that made her heart flutter unexpectedly. One afternoon, she dropped her keys in the garage. When Alex bent down to retrieve them, his hand brushed briefly against her knee. That fleeting contact ignited a spark neither of them could deny. They remained in the dim light of the garage for nearly an hour, their whispered words and stolen glances weaving a tapestry of secret longing. On another occasion, while awaiting a wine delivery, Violetta met a nervous young courier standing awkwardly at the doorstep, clutching a bottle of Burgundy. This is my first time here. Very beautiful house. And you too," he stammered, his cheeks flushing a deep red. The compliment was clumsy, but heartfelt. Violetta invited him inside for a moment, offering water. The brief encounter lingered in her mind long after he had left, his bashful smile a faint echo of the tenderness she craved. Then there was the veterinarian, called to tend her beloved mare Artemis. He was a man captivated by Violetta's care and grace. Each time he spoke, she lightly touched his hand, the warmth of their connection simmering beneath the surface. The stable door remained closed longer than necessary that day, hiding the quiet promises made in whispered words. Each story became a breath of life for Violetta, a rekindling of youth and desire. She did not seek love, she sought herself, the parts of her soul that had withered in silence. One evening, Harold returned home earlier than expected. The manor was quiet as he entered the living room and froze. There, in a thin negligee, stood Violetta, pressing a young footman against the door, their lips locked in a desperate kiss. The footman's eyes were heavy with exhaustion, not anger. "Harold," she whispered, pale and trembling, I don't know what came over me. Forgive me. Please forgive me." Harold said nothing. He turned silently and left the room. For many days, Violetta could neither eat nor meet her own gaze in the mirror. She wept in solitude, begging for forgiveness and vowing to change. Then, unexpectedly, in a cozy cafe, she met Thomas again. Are you still working as a gardener?" she asked cautiously. "No, Mrs. Ashford, I'm not really a gardener," he said, smiling with a secret in his eyes. "How's that?" she whispered, confused. Thomas took a sip of coffee before speaking softly. "Harold hired us all. Me, Alex, the vet, even the courier. He knew you needed more than he could give. He didn't want to lose you, so he did everything so you'd be happy, even if not with him." Violetta gasped, her breath caught in her throat. For the first time in years, she understood what true love was: silent, deep, sacrificial. She returned to the manor. That evening, Harold sat by the fireplace reading a newspaper. She sat beside him, took his hand gently, and whispered, "I know everything, and I'm staying." They looked into each other's eyes, and the silence that filled the room was warm, full of a promise of new beginnings. As days passed, the seasons shifted gently over Greystone Manor. Autumn painted the gardens in fiery reds and golds, and Violetta often wandered the paths alone, her thoughts a mix of hope and uncertainty. She began to write in a small leather-bound notebook, pouring out feelings she had long kept hidden: loneliness, longing, and the fragile tendrils of forgiveness. Harold, too, changed in small but meaningful ways. He joined her on morning walks through the frosty garden, shared stories of their youth, and listened with newfound tenderness to her dreams and fears. Their conversations, once rare and formal, grew longer and filled with laughter and memories. One snowy evening, sitting by the fire, they spoke openly for the first time in years. "Violetta," Harold said softly, "we have been prisoners of our own pride and fear. I want to truly try to rebuild what we lost." Her eyes shimmered with tears. "I want that too, but I'm afraid we might hurt each other again." He took her hand. "We'll take it one day at a time. No promises, only honesty." They sat in silence, fingers intertwined, a fragile hope blossoming between them. Winter's hush fell over the manor, wrapping it in a blanket of snow. The garden slept beneath frost, and inside, by the firelight, Harold and Violetta rediscovered a delicate harmony, imperfect, fragile, but filled with love reborn from sacrifice and understanding.